Ever feel like someone's watching you online? Like all the time. Well, in Cory Doctorow's little brother, that's not just a feeling, it's a reality. And the tech he describes in this book, let me tell you, it's not so futuristic anymore.
Yeah, that's one of the things that makes Little Brother so gripping and honestly a little unsettling. It's how Doctorow blends those classic coming-of-age themes with technology that feels like it's almost within reach, you know?
It really does.
It's like he took all of today's anxieties about surveillance and just cranked them up to 11.
Okay, so to set the scene a little bit, imagine this. San Francisco, not too far in the future, and then boom, a terrorist attack throws the entire city into chaos.
Intense.
Our main character, Marcus, he's this tech-savvy teenager, and he and his friends, they just get caught in this Homeland Security dragnet. Think, wrong place, wrong time, but with like way more facial recognition tech and just constant invasive surveillance.
And that's where Doctorow really gets you, I think. One reviewer pointed out that the tech used for surveillance in the book, it isn't some like far-off dystopian fantasy, you know?
Right.
It's alarmingly close to what's possible today, which, let's be honest, makes you question every single agree-to-terms button you've ever clicked,
Oh,
right?
absolutely, 100%. It's like he's holding up a mirror to our digital lives. No, Marcus, though, he's not just some stereotypical computer nerd, right? He's a believable teenager, you know?
No.
Good with code. But when it comes to actual human interaction,
Yeah, not so much.
he's got a little bit to learn.
One review I came across described him as, and I love this, simultaneously brilliant and naive, which I thought was perfect.
Yeah.
He can code circles around the government, but when it comes to, like, dealing with authority or even his crush, let's just say he's got some learning to do.
So relatable for anyone who remembers being a teenager, am I right?
The most relatable part of the book, probably.
But after his whole ordeal with Homeland Security, you know, being falsely accused, the whole 9 yards, Marcus decides enough is enough. He's going to fight back, and he's going to use his tech skills to do it.
Enter the XNet.
Okay, so the XNet. Tell us about it.
So the XNet is, it's basically Marcus's rebellion in code. It's this decentralized network, a kind of underground internet that he builds using, get this, modded Xboxes.
Modded Xbox.
Think of it as like this secret online world, right? Controlled by the people, not governments or corporations.
I love it.
And the best part, the coolest part, it can't be shut down.
Why not?
Because it doesn't rely on the usual internet service providers.
He's like a digital ghost.
Exactly. He's off the grid.
So he's basically creating this like unbreakable network that sounds, I don't know, kind of futuristic to me. I thought we were talking about relatable tech.
Right. And that's where it gets even more interesting, I think. Remember mesh networks?
Yes, vaguely.
So while the XNet itself is, you know, fictional, the whole concept is actually rooted in real-world tech that's already being used.
Really?
Oh, yeah. For example, imagine if your internet connection, instead of coming from, like, one company, it just hopped between your neighbor's devices, right? Even if one connection goes down, the network, it survives.
Wow.
That's the basic idea behind mesh network. And there are actual projects like this, like the Seattle Wireless. And MIT has one called RoofNet.
No way.
They're putting it into practice, you know, like in the real world.
Whoa. Okay, so this book is really like blurring the lines between fiction and reality here. It's like Doctorow is saying, hey, all this tech, it's closer than you think. And oh, yeah, here's what could happen.
Exactly. And Little Brother isn't just like a warning about the dangers of technology. There's more to it than that. It's about this power of individual action and the fight for freedom, you know, especially in a world where control is becoming easier and easier to exert. You know, it really makes you realize that we're all making choices every day about what we're willing to give up, you know, in exchange for security or convenience.
And those choices matter, don't they? It's like that whole thing. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. Except in Little Brother, it's like the stakes are way higher than targeted ads, you know? We're talking about basic freedoms here.
Totally. And it's funny you should mention that because Little Brother's often put in that young adult fiction category. But honestly, these themes, they resonate with adults too. I mean, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I first read this book back in high school, and it definitely made me look at the internet differently. But coming back to it now, you know, as someone who's, let's be honest, glued to their phone most of the day, it feels even more relevant. And honestly, maybe even a little terrifying.
That's the power of dystopian YA fiction, right? It takes these really complex, sometimes even like uncomfortable issues, and it presents them in a way that's accessible, relatable, no matter how old you are. And Little Brother, it's like
Hmm.
a prime example of that. It gets you invested in the characters and the plot. It moves so fast, but it also makes you think about these bigger questions, right? About privacy, about security, about the role, like the impact of technology in our lives.
And Doctorow himself, he's not just like a tech enthusiast writing a cautionary tale. This guy, he walks the walk,
Yeah.
He's a pretty vocal activist, right?
He is. He's a huge advocate for digital rights
Yeah.
and freedom of information. And get this, he actually made Little Brother available, get this, for free online.
Wait, seriously? Like, you can download it for free, no strings attached.
Yep. You can just go to his website and grab a copy.
Yeah.
It's a bold move. I mean, he's challenging traditional publishing with that one, but it reflects his core beliefs,
Mhm.
He's essentially saying, these ideas, they're important. Everyone should have access to them.
That's kind of amazing, actually. I wonder if that accessibility, does it actually make the book's message even stronger? Do you think it reaches people who, they might not typically pick up a YA novel about, like, surveillance and rebellion?
Right. It's a really interesting thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, by removing those traditional barriers, the cost, the gatekeeping, does he create a more direct connection with readers?
It definitely makes you think about the power of just, like, making information free and accessible. And it's not even just like the free download. The guy includes like essays and a whole bibliography on like tech and cryptography and counterculture.
Oh, yeah.
He's like inviting readers to go even deeper down the rabbit hole.
Totally. He is. He's
Yeah.
like giving you the tools to start questioning things for yourself.
Yeah.
Right? He's not just telling you what to think, but like how to think critically about all this technology that we use every single day and how it impacts our lives.
So it's less about giving you all the answers and more about like empowering you to ask the right questions.
Exactly. And, maybe even find some answers of your own. But, here's the thing. While Little Brother does, it definitely highlights, the potential downsides of all this technology. It doesn't paint a completely bleak picture. Like it's not all doom and gloom. There's a glimmer of hope in there, I think.
Okay, I'm listening. What's the hopeful part? Because so far, we've got surveillance, we've got government overreach, and teenagers building shadow internets with Xboxes.
Okay, true. But the real hope, I think, it lies in the story itself. It's about these young people, these regular teenagers who are using their knowledge and their skills, their passion to fight back against the system that, it seems like hell-bent on controlling them. It shows that even if you're up against like overwhelming power, that individual action and collective resistance, it can make a difference. It really can.
So it's not just about the tech, it's about the human spirit, right? The will to fight for what you believe in.
Exactly. And that's a message that resonates like way beyond the pages of Little Brother. It's relevant to anyone who's ever felt powerless, up against authority, anyone who's ever questioned the status quo, anyone who's dared to like imagine a different kind of future, I think that's what makes this book so powerful.
It's like that point in the book where Marcus, he has this realization, He doesn't have to just accept the world that he's been given. He can actually, use his skills to build something new, build something better.
Exactly. And that's the ultimate takeaway from Little Brother, I think. It's a call to action for all of us, not just, tech-savvy teenagers, to really become active in shaping what our digital future looks like.
So, what does that look like then in the real world? Are we all supposed to, go out and build our own XNets?
Well, I mean, maybe not literally, but we can definitely start by just being more aware, right? More aware of the technologies that we use every single day and the choices that we're making online.
Actually reading those terms and conditions
Yeah.
for once.
Hey, for the start. But also, really thinking critically about the information that we're consuming, right?
Yeah.
The data that we're sharing and the systems that are being built around us all the time.
So it's less about becoming, coding ninjas and more about just being informed, right? Engaged citizens of the digital age.
Exactly. And understanding that even small acts of resistance, choosing to use more privacy-focused tools or supporting, organizations that are fighting for digital rights.
Yeah.
Those things can have a ripple effect.
It's like Doctorow is handing us this toolbox, not just to survive in a surveillance state, but to actually build something better in its place.
Exactly. And that's such a powerful message, whether you're a total tech enthusiast or just someone who cares about, the future of freedom in a digital world.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Little Brother, I think the question isn't just like, what would your XNet look like?
Right?
It's also, what are you willing to do to build it? What small act of rebellion, what choice, what action will you take to kind of reclaim your digital freedom?
That's the question, isn't it?
It really is. And that's our deep dive into Cory Doctorow's Little Brother.
Thanks for joining us as we explored this thought-provoking book and its honestly chillingly relevant message.
It really is. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.